So let's have some fun. Let's make selections for South Africa, for New Zealand, for that massive clash in the Rugby Championship in a couple of weeks. They're playing 2 games, but what is their best lineup? We've seen them twice already, and I'd love to know your selections in the comments below because there's some tight calls here. What would I do for South Africa? Nice and quickly, here is the team. Oxenchae, easily the best loosehead. What a class act. Play as long as he can for me. Mbonambi is a really good scrummager, although Marks has been probably the best hooker all round. I think we've said that before, but he's brilliant off the bench, so why change it? So have Mbonambi, Marks coming on, in the second half, pretty soon, maybe after 50 or even sooner maybe. Grobbelaar we saw in the last game. He's good around the pitch, but it was a wet day, so not best for him. Not the best line-out throw, so he's not in the picture. So stick with Mbonambi and Marks as the impact man. Malherbe's a massive scrummager, so start with that. And then have Steenkamp and Koch coming off the bench, although I thought Du Toit did pretty well in that wet game. I'm a fan of Du Toit, but Koch's been so good for so long, I think he stays. So front rows as they are. A bit of a question in the second row. I'm assuming Snyman is back fit. I really like him, but in that game against Australia second time up, I thought Norgay had a brilliant game, really impressive. Murat was the captain. He went off a bit early, didn't have the best game, I think, so he's probably out of the picture with Snyman on the bench as the impact. If Snyman's not available, then Murat on the bench, but Etzebeth was brilliant when they came on, really shored up the line out in the second game. Class act, so him and Norgay, the workhorse starting pair, and then Snyman, the impact second row. I think that works fantastically well. Khaleesi absolutely at open side, although I think Van Staden's been really good as well. You could play Smith there, I guess. Pieter-Steph du Toit has been world class, as he always has, in the tight, in the line out. Out wide he's really useful. Just a class act. Can be so tough to replace when he goes. Talking of replacing players, we've been looking for Dwayne Vermeulen's successor at 8. Have we found him in Elric Lowe? Maybe, although he hasn't been on fire. I want him to physically dominate. He started twice, so keep him going. You could play Smith. He's very explosive, so he's good off the bench, not the biggest. Visa, I think, is back available, so maybe he drops straight back in. Let me know if you do that. But I think keep the team as stable as possible. Lowe hasn't been terrible in that last game, and he was good in the first game, so he goes again. But that's probably the one big question. In the halfbacks, it's a good conversation, but I think Reinach starts again with Williams coming off the bench. Vandenberg had his start and kind of fluffed it in the wet, but he is one for the future. He'll have other chances, so the experienced Reinach to start and the explosive Williams coming off the bench I think makes the most sense. Big question at 10 though. Mngomezulu didn't have his best game in the wet against Australia in the second game. Dropped an absolute golden chance for a try. You just can't do that against New Zealand especially. Does Pollard come straight back in? Rassie Erasmus has done that before. Just put Pollard straight back in because he's that good. But Mngomezulu started both games and he is a class talent. I think Libbok's a really good talent as well, but he's probably still in third. But I think I still start with Mngomezulu, keep the continuity, see if it can absolutely click in that first game. If it doesn't click in the first game, I think you make the change back to Pollard. Pollard on the bench there, covering 10 and 12, could play 15 as well. So I think you can still have that 6-2 split with him on the bench. There are a few questions at centre. You could go Am at 12 if you want to open up the game. You could play Pollard if you really want to zip that ball around. Or you stick with Deolandi, who's pretty much the number one. I think you do, but maybe you consider changing it up in-game to Pollard. Or if that doesn't go well, you do change up 12, because I don't think Deolandi is undroppable. But when he's on his game, he creates a focal point for the attack, which can be super useful. Creel's been good both games, maybe quieter in the wet last game, but he's definitely the starting 13. You could have Am on the bench, but you've only got 2 there, so that's quite tricky to do. The wingers, nice and easy. Arinza is absolutely fantastic, as is Colby. Colby was brilliant in the wet, created that try that should have been for Mngomezulu, and he was brilliant in the first game. I don't think Mapimpi gets close there, even though he's still a solid professional. The big discussion is fullback. Leroux, he kicks really well, he can pass really well, can make a few bad decisions sometimes, did a terrible one in the first game, but normally pretty good decisions. Fassi, though, is the speed, plus he's very solid under the high ball and defensively. So I don't think it's a risk to play Fassi. It's just a straight decision. You can bring Pollard on if you want to move the ball a little bit more. So I think go for it. Go for Fassi, because goodness me, look at that back line now. Look at that back three. If they can get that ball moving in phase play, it could be absolutely devastating. With the 6-2 split, you can get two back rows on there that have been very explosive, very dangerous. Van Staden and Smith. I think that's really, really good. Loving the bench here for South Africa. Could be a strength, like I said, against New Zealand. Williams coming on for more pace, and Pollard can fit in absolutely anywhere as well. So that's where I'd go for South Africa. On to New Zealand, and there is a battle at loose head. Do you go the mighty to mighty Williams or Ethan de Groot? You can see there I've gone for Williams because I thought his performance against New Zealand was so impressive, but I don't mind which way round you go. De Groot or Williams, Williams or de Groot. I'm rewarding Williams there with the start. Taylor had a better game. I didn't think he was the best in the first game. Lomax is by far their best tight head, destroyed the Argentinian scrum. He's going to be absolutely key. So the big man, Williams, Taylor and Lomax to start, and then de Groot and Newell to come on. Amua's had a mixed bag off the bench, but he does have impact. He just needs to keep it clean. So I think you stick with him on the bench there. Second row is interesting because we're probably getting a returning Scott Barrett, probably a returning Tuipulotu as well. What do you do? Well, Barrett is the captain. I don't think you drop the captain at this point because it's a new team. There's an argument there because Vai had a brilliant game, probably his best game for the All Blacks, maybe coming of age. So he starts at 4. Who goes to 5? Is it still Darry, who's had another good game? I think you bring the captain back in there. So Vai and Scott Barrett, super tough, super physical, plenty of skill there. Darry on the bench, Tuipulotu and Lord missing out. So that's a tough call. Let me know what you would do. The back row, I wasn't overly impressed with Blackadder in the first game. I thought he worked hard but didn't have that impact. In this game, he had that physical impact, so I think he stays at 6. You could have brought Barrett in there, but I think Blackadder has kept hold of his shirt with that performance. At 7, I think you stay with Papali, who's been good for both games, but he is not untouchable. You could bring in Kane, and indeed on the bench, I'm going 6-2. I think you have to go 6-2 against South Africa to keep up with their physicality in the pack. So Kane makes it on the bench, along with Satiti as impact. Could go with Finau as well with some physicality. So Satiti, Kane, maybe Finau. Could go somewhere else on the bench. Let me know what you think. Would you do a 6-2 split? Surveyor was brilliant in the second game there against Argentina. An absolute power monster, bursting through tackles, carrying absolutely amazing. We know he can do his turnovers. So that's the pack. Perenara was brilliant at 9. I was questioning him at 9. Is he going to carry on being the starting 9 as he gets a bit older? But that was a performance for the ages. His offload for the Jordan try was ridiculous. Looked to offload, then delayed it and went round the back of the defender to Jordan. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. So he's absolutely starting. Ratimer off the bench is a nice combo. Mackenzie came in for a lot of stick after the first game for some bad decisions. I said stick with him. I think he is a generational talent. I think he is that good if he gets his decisions right. And I think he showed it in that last game there. Brilliant kicking as well. Good try. He absolutely stays. Geordie Barrett had a much better game. Who goes alongside him is the question. Ioane was better, but I think Leonard Brown is the better all-round player, so I'm going with him. We haven't seen Proctor yet. Ioane as well is really good in that number 23 slot if they're going 6-2 because he can cover centre and the wing, and it is tough on Caleb Clark because I thought he had a good game. He played well in America. He's their power man, but I think for this game you go with Talea, who has been good in that first game, works off his wing. He's a smarter player, I'd say. Up against South Africa, I think I'd be happier with Talea on one wing. Jordan on the other wing, who was brilliant on the wing, not so good at fullback. Beauden Barrett has locked that down. Beauden Barrett's decisions, his kicking, the line he hit for his try was brilliant. So Jordan definitely nowhere near 15 at the moment. He was brilliant on the wing. Question marks in the centres. But that is the lineup I would take to South Africa. They're going to have to be at their best. We're going to need more from the bench, that is for sure. Which way would you go on selection for South Africa, for New Zealand? Pop those comments below. If you like these sorts of videos, please do like, please do subscribe. That would be amazing. And I'll catch you next time.